What does his text mean?
So frustrating.
Maybe he's just not that into me.
No, she really likes
I've
me.
always been bad
How
at
can I
flirting.
get her attention?
I'm ready for
I just
marriage.
want somebody to share my life.
Is this
relationship
relationship
going anywhere? Modern Love Made Simple. This is Dates and Mates with Damona Hoffman.
Hello, lovers. Welcome to another dazzling episode of Dates and Mates with Damona Hoffman. If you are watching live on the live stream on my Facebook page or on UBN Radio, you probably have noticed something's a little different today. I'm very sparkly today. I'm wearing a costume because you know what time it is, y'all. The pumpkin spice lattes are brewing. The sweater weather is upon us. And that can only mean one thing. It's Halloween time, and it's time for my favorite Dates and Mates episode of the year. This is our annual Halloween Horror Stories episode. Yes, we have dating horror stories from our Dates and Mates community with advice from me on how you can avoid suffering the same fate yourself. Hey, do you have a dating horror story? We would love to hear it. You can DM me or post yours on my Facebook page or on Instagram. I'm at Damona Hoffman. But before we do all that, we're going to hit the headlines as always. We have the story of a former celebrity online dater who's knocked up, and we found out the reason why people stay in bad relationships. Plus, we'll tell you what your sexual fantasies really say about you. Then we have so many provocative questions from you this week. And if we're not too spooked out by the end of the show, producer Leah and I will tackle them for you. Producer Leah, how do you like my costume?
I love your costume.
It's sort of like disco Little Red Riding Hood
Yeah,
slash
very
like
vampire disco.
slash gay witch sort of. Yeah, so here we go. It could be a little bit like a little bit Handmaid's Tale in space.
Oh, true.
Yes. Okay, well, I'll post a picture on the blog so people can see just how fabulous this costume is. But I'm going to step it up on actual Halloween and do Vampirina. So
That's
bonus
so
points.
cute.
Thank you. Bonus points for anybody who knows what that is. I'm going to take off my hood so we can tackle a dish.
Dee's dating dish.
We knew it was coming. We knew the day was coming when Amy Schumer would finally get knocked up. And it has happened. But
She talks about it enough, yeah.
Right, in true Amy Schumer fashion, the way she announced it was just so different. So she actually didn't even share it herself. Her friend Jessica Yellen posted on Instagram, and she said she commented on Jessica's post and just said, "I'm pregnant, Amy Schumer."
Yeah, it wasn't even like a regular post. It was like an Instagram story.
Yeah, and it was on her list of candidate recommendations for voters, and then Jessica Yellen was like, "Okay, I'm gonna." This was clearly all premeditated.
Oh, totally.
So she then did a capture of the story, and then. Yeah, she said, Amy Schumer getting out the vote and something else. So we wish you lots of luck. But my favorite was her statement where she said, "I look forward to competing with Markle every step of the way."
Was so funny.
Amy Schumer baby, Meghan Markle baby, basically the same thing.
The real baby has competition.
Everyone has competition, even folks in relationships. You see, a lot of folks are staying in bad relationships, but a new study tells us a surprising reason why. You would think, producer Leah, it's probably because people are like, "Oh, I don't want to be single," or "I don't want to
That's exactly
give
what
up
I
the house."
expected.
Right.
Like, people are just dependent on their relationships. But you're right. It's a completely different reason.
Well, it turns out, according to Samantha Joel, a researcher from the University of Utah, who just released her findings, she said, it's not what you think. It's actually that they are considering their partner's feelings, and they don't want to break up with them if they think that their partner is dependent on the relationship.
To me, that sounds like a little bit of a cop-out, but I don't know.
Well, I don't know if it's a cop-out, but I feel like it's we're all just guessing at other people's feelings and not talking about what's really happening.
Right.
I don't think that that's a good reason to stay in a relationship if you don't think your partner can handle it. If you're not happy, you're doing damage to the relationship by staying in it.
Yeah.
But also, it's people that had the hope that their relationship would improve that said this. If you thought this person is just hopeless and this relationship is doomed, you were just like, see ya.
Yeah.
I don't know. Have you ever stayed in a relationship for the other person? Have you stayed in a relationship for the wrong reasons, producer Leah?
I mean, I feel like everybody has like stayed in a relationship because they didn't like want to be single. I did that in college. Yeah.
That was like yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we've all stayed longer than we should.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, it's hard to
Yeah.
it's hard to get out, especially
everybody goes through that phase, I feel like.
yeah, and especially if you have so much invested in the relationship. That's what I hear a lot. People say, well, we've already been together for 5 years, and so I don't want to start over.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's much better to start over than to live your life in the wrong
If
relationship.
it's not working, it's not working.
It's not working. It's not working. But if it's not working in bed, you might
Great
need
transition.
some new tips on what to do in the bedroom. And it turns out your sex fantasies are saying way more than you think about who you really are.
I was really surprised that people fantasize about like the same things. Yeah.
Like the things that you do?
No,
You're like,
I
oh,
mean,
other people like that?
Just like in the book, the book that we're talking about, the Tell Me What You Want, The Science of Sexual Desire and How You Can Improve Your Sex Life by Justin LaMiller.
Yes, he's a research fellow at the Kinsey Institute. So those folks know a few things about sex. And yes, he said even though every fantasy is unique, he said the majority fall into basically 3 categories. So there's group sex, BDSM, and novelty or adventure. I was surprised at how many people were fantasizing about threesomes, and that was news to me. And it turns out extroverts tend to fantasize more about group sex or non-monogamy.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to go ahead and say I'm an extrovert,
It's
but I'm not
something,
thinking about...
You're thinking about.
That to me seemed so cliche. Like, oh, you're an extrovert, so you must be fantasizing about having sex with everyone.
I mean,
Did I read that wrong?
Yeah, I don't know if that meant like you're
I'm a
fantasizing
defensive.
about
Defensive
everybody,
extrovert.
like having sex with everybody. Just like that you fantasize about. It also said that you could like fantasize about new positions and new, well, not you personally, but new positions and new like locations and stuff like that. Like trying new things.
I suppose that
Yeah.
might be true. I mean, nobody's like fantasizing about like having the same old sex they've already had, right? They're like, oh, let's just have it's a fantasy.
Yeah.
But I did find it interesting that most people fantasized about past lovers or people that they knew and not about celebrities. Or, because we all joke like these people are on our list.
Yeah.
This is my past list, but it's really the past list that you really
that you think about.
need to worry about. Women were more likely than men to fantasize about same-sex experiences and BDSM.
Also, I found that interesting that men fantasize about like emotional fulfillment as much as women.
Really?
Yeah.
Really, though. Well, research said it, so it must be true. You can check this out. There's several articles on this. HuffPost, CNN have covered it. And you can find out. You can get the book, the Tell Me What You Want, The Science of Sexual Desire, and how it can improve your sex life. But here's the advice. Here's the advice that he said. If you want to try something more adventurous with your partner, he suggests just giving them the softball topics first before you throw them the fastball. Right?
Deep dive.
Sorry for the ball references. But share the less adventurous fantasies with your partner before delving into taboo topics. I don't know. I feel like maybe it's because I'm an old married lady, but I feel like there's nothing that I couldn't talk to my partner about. If he'd want to hear if I have a fantasy.
Yeah, I feel like that's a healthy relationship.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, he might say no. Like,
Yeah,
that's
that's
not.
true.
Yeah. That's, oh, no. Yeah, that's, of course, I was just wondering what you thought about it. I mean, I wasn't thinking of doing it. I was just wondering.
Yeah.
That's how you get out of that. But if you're in a newer relationship, you really don't want to get don't bring up the furry costume Too
Too
soon.
personal, too fast.
Don't get too personal too fast. Well, we're going to get a little bit personal. Right after this, we have Halloween dating horror stories to share from our Dates and Mates community. And speaking of the community, hey, are you a part of it? If you want in the club, all you have to do is go to datesandmates.com and pick your free e-course, The Texting 10 Commandments for Singles, or Relationship Boot Camp if you're coupled and you're in. That's datesandmates.com, and you just scroll down to the bottom of the page, pick your free e-course, and then look out for my emails, which have dating advice and relationship advice, episode updates, and invitation to exclusive calls and events. And those will land right in your inbox. So don't go away, because I have something super important to share with you right now. Those of you who follow me on social media probably know that I'm not much of a chef, but meal box kits have saved my life and my marriage. The meals I'm loving most are from Green Chef, and I'll tell you how to get $50 off your first box if you hold tight a moment. Green Chef is a USDA certified organic company, and you can get a meal plan for any way you like to eat: paleo, vegan, vegetarian, keto, gluten-free, omnivore, carnivore. And for those of you busy folks like me, here's how Green Chef simplifies your life. Everything is hand-picked and delivered right to your door. Plus, ingredients come pre-measured and perfectly proportioned and mostly prepped. Basically, you just open your door, say, "Ooh, there's a box." You unpack it, follow the directions, use those pre-made sauces and dressings that give you big flavor in less time, and voila! In about 30 minutes, you have a wholesome, home-cooked meal. My friends and fans also know that I'm kale crazy. Yeah, with a K. And their Bavarian Supergrain bowl gave me feelings. I think it's cute when moms do meal planning to write a perfect grocery list for the week's meals, but I say make it easy on yourself and let Green Chef do that. Simplify your life while also eating healthier at home. Just go to greenchef.us/datesandmates for $50 off your first box. Make sure you use that special link, greenchef.us/datesandmates. Welcome back to Dates and Mates. It's my favorite episode of the year. We are going to get a little weird now. For our Halloween dating horror stories, I'm wearing my Futurism Handmaid's Tale chic. That's what I think is the most likely definition for this costume.
Handmaid's Tale cheek. I love it.
In space. You can see it on my Instagram and Facebook. I'll post pictures. So last year we had this episode, and I heard one of the craziest dating experiences I've ever heard of, when Tavishya joined me in studio to talk about her adventure with the scientist that involved nematodes, which I discovered what they were last year at this time, farting in the greenhouse, and dick pics. Okay, so back by popular demand, we have another dating horror story with Tavishya. Please give her big smooches.
Hey, y'all.
Tavishya, well, you're looking great.
Thank you.
Welcome back again this year.
Thank you.
We can make this a regular thing if you keep having crazy dating experiences.
I feel like I'm being targeted.
You're being no, come
by
on.
the universe.
Come on, we're going to set you straight.
All right.
No dating horror stories next year.
All right.
You're looking fabulous.
Thank
I like
you.
your hair.
Thank you. Tiffany Renee. She always hooks me up. It was like a crisis last night, and we were there late, and then she wanted me to watch this movie, and I was like, girl, I got to get up in the morning.
Oh, no. And then you get here and find out that I'm going to make you put headphones on a little bit.
Right.
Well, it looks
true.
good now. And
Thank
she
you.
also did my highlights. I've been getting a lot of compliments on the highlights. Okay. Enough of the chit chat, Tavishya, because how did you manage to have another dating horror story to share with us?
This one actually happened before the other one. So this is when in my younger days when I was, still trying to discover myself. So basically,
That sounded kinky, didn't it? Didn't
Yeah,
that sound kinky?
Definitely.
Okay.
I call myself being like, you like take a risk. You like just live a little. Sometimes I tell myself to live a little. And this wasn't the moment I should have lived a little.
I call it actually, I call it I could have been dead. When I look back, and there's just so many stories where I could have been dead. And one day I'm going to make a compilation that's a cautionary tale from. Well, there's a few. It's a family show. Okay, what happened to you?
So basically, I had a speeding ticket in San Diego, and I had to go to court.
Oh.
So, of course, you have to go to court in San Diego. So I did not have a car, and I was just like, you know what, let me just go and get this ticket situated. So I caught the Greyhound to San Diego. And I'm at the Greyhound station, but since I had to catch the bus to the actual courthouse, I had to, like, hang out before I was there before the buses started running. So I had to, like, wait at the Greyhound stations.
You took, like, the red-eye bus?
Yeah. It
and
got
then
there
you're
like
just
2 in the
sitting there.
morning. The bus started running around 5 or 6.
Well, that's always where you meet the great guys at the bus station, right? But right between 3 and 5 a.m., that's where all the hotties hang out at the Greyhound.
Usually.
So you found him.
I did. There was a security guard there. He was really young. Like, I think he was like 20 at the time. And I was definitely around 25. And he, we were just talking, and I was like, oh, he seems like a cool guy. And I was telling him why I was there for. I felt safe-ish.
Because he's wearing a security uniform. We love men in uniform, right?
You have to get a car for that. I hope they do a background check, but I don't know all that. So, so I'm off to the courthouse. And when I was there, though, he told me, like, oh, I have to actually go by the courthouse, too. I have to get, like, a renew an ID or something like that. So he had some business at the same courthouse. So he was
on the same day?
On the same, well, it didn't have to happen that day, but he took it.
He's like, I might follow you there.
Right. So I got
Be
there.
the security escort.
Right. I got there, and I took her on my ticket. I'm walking out. And I see him, and I'm like, oh, snap, it's a security guy. Don't even remember his name, but let's just call him Batman. Can I
Batman? Okay.
Well, that was like his nickname. Like,
okay.
His little family nickname.
This is not weird at all.
No.
This is not sounding like a horror story. Okay, Batman.
So, on the way out the courthouse, he's like, hey, where are you going? I was like, actually, I got a few hours to kill because my friend isn't off work for a few hours, so I'm free. And he was like, well, how about you come hang out? And I'm like, sure. And this is when the moment where I'm like, just live a little. Sure. And then I get in the car with him, and we go to his house. Now, because this young man is 20, he was definitely living in the living room at the house. So it was like a 2-3 bedroom house, and he was like in the living room. Like his bed was in the living room.
Bed was
like with his parents.
Yeah.
And
he was
is it
20.
like a fold out sofa situation?
No, it was like a full out bed, like a full size bed.
Okay, this
with
is
pillows
already
and
sounding
sheets.
pretty creepy.
So I get there, and I'm like, oh, I'm hungry. I was going to stop somewhere and get something to eat, but since I'm here, can you make me breakfast? He's like, yeah, I'll make you breakfast. So he made me like this horrible egg sandwich, had no seasoning. Like, the eggs were like overcooked. And I was just like,
his mom wasn't up yet, so she couldn't cook for you.
No one was no one was home.
What was the house like? Was it like a creepy
it was dirty.
Halloween horror story
dirty.
house?
Dirty. It's the same.
Why
right?
are you
Creepy,
eating in
dirty.
that kitchen if you see that it's dirty?
You know, when I'm hungry, it doesn't matter sometimes. I'm living a little, Damona.
Okay, you were living a little. I'm sorry.
Every time you
that was
ask
the
me something,
theme.
I'm like, I'm living a little.
That was the theme.
That's my
Okay.
theme. So then I ate this. I ate it. I definitely ate it. And then I was like, oh, I want to take a nap before, I go to my friend's house.
Tavishya, you're at the strange man's house and you're going to take a
I'm
nap
going to take a nap.
on his living room bed. Of course you are.
Where else would I sleep? Because there's no couch in the house.
Okay. Okay.
So I lay down, and he lays down with me, of course. And then he starts to unbuckle my pants. And I'm like, whoa. Before, I'm very like straightforward person. So if I'm not going to do something, I'll let you know that before we get to our destination. So I did, when I was in the car with him, I said, hey, just so you know, I'm not one of those girls. If I get here and I'm like, don't be trying to have sex, I'm not doing that. I was just like, we're just going to kick it. And he was like, no, it's cool. Of course a guy would say that. But I was just like, no, I mean it. Like, when we get there, it's not going to be a different story. It's going to be exactly what I'm saying. And he was just like, oh, okay, cool. And I'm like, cool. So then we get in the bed, and he's like trying to take my pants off. And I'm like, what did I say? Like, what? Didn't we talk about this earlier? And he was just like, I'm just so attracted to you. You're so sexy. I'm just like, thank you. But, this is not going to make me want to. So anywho, I gave him like this long speech. So the speech was basically, you can't just be going around sleeping with all these women. And just because a girl comes over your house doesn't mean you have to sleep with her. Why don't you try to get to know her first? And it was like straight up. And then like, I don't see any protection. You ain't pulled out no condoms. I'm like, are you having unprotected? It really turned into like a speech.
A lecture.
Like, I was just like,
the more you know. Yeah.
And I was like, please just be careful, man. There's a lot of people out here with like, and he was looking
You
at
turned
me
into like Auntie Tavishya all of a sudden.
I did. And I was just like, I don't know if people tell you this. I don't know how your friends are. I don't know who your friends are, but I really wanted you to be aware. And hopefully you remember this moment. And he's like, I think we should head out. So, at that point, he's trying to get rid of me. And he was like, where does your friend live again? And she was like 15 minutes away. And so he like literally like, he was happy to drop me off at my friend's
At
place.
least he dropped you off. That was nice of him.
And he was just like, okay, bye. And I think we added each other on Facebook, but I have never heard from him again.
Wow, I think Batman learned an important lesson that day.
He learned about, being safe out here in these streets.
Well, maybe you learned about being safe in these streets as well.
Yeah. All right, I have this other thing. When I'm with dudes, like going on dates, especially if it's like I'm alone with them to some capacity, I always say, if I could take him, I'll go on the date. So I have this thing where I'm like tough. So I'm like, if I can take you down, if you try to like come at me crazy, I can go.
Oh my gosh. Tavishya dating advice is like no other. Wow. Thank you for another dating horror story. Another cautionary tale. I'm glad that you're living.
Oh yeah,
a
but
little. Just a little.
I'm still single, so we're still looking. We're still going on dates, and they aren't
still living.
all horror stories. These are just some of them.
Okay. I gotta get in there and help you a little bit.
We're gonna talk about that later.
We'll talk about that later. Well, thank you for sharing it.
No problem.
We have more horror stories. So Tavishya, I hope you'll stick around
I
and
will.
some of your advice.
Oh yeah, I got you.
You could be turned into Auntie Tavishya for some of our
We are
listeners.
logical thinkers. Like,
Some of our friends and listeners have shared their stories with us. So, producer Leah, why don't you cue up the story we have from Troy from LA?
I am here with Troy from Los Angeles, and I hear you have a crazy dating horror story to share with us today, Troy.
Oh, I do, from the dark days when you used to put ads in the back of the local free press rags.
Oh, wow, you're taking us back on a journey. Let's go there.
All right, it's a TBT Halloween horror story. When I was younger, I lived in Tampa, Florida, where we had a magazine called Creative Loafing that had little romance adverts in the back, and I stuck an ad in there thinking, well, maybe I'll give this a shot. I got a call in my little voicemail from a woman who said, I'd really like to meet you. You seem really interesting. I'd love to set a date. Let's do this, da-da-da. We're just rushing right past it. Doesn't want to talk on the phone. Doesn't want to do anything. I'd love to see you. So I called her. We set a time, and she said, I'll tell you where to pick me up when I get there. Well, the place I was to pick her up was the airport. She had flown in from Seattle. And as I pulled up, I saw this woman who looked like a Gary Larson cartoon standing on the curb with her little cat's eye glasses pressed into her little marshmallow face. Picked her up. We went back to my house so that she could change her clothes before we went out. We got into a discussion about, events in our lives that we thought were memorable or traumatic. And at some point I triggered her. She locked herself in the bathroom sobbing, I don't do well on standardized tests. So I knew I was in for a great night. So eventually the door unlocks. I greet her. She looks great. I told her to wear a dress because we were going to a nice restaurant. The dress she selected was a lime green sundress that was so short if you tipped her in any direction, you'd be able to see her underwear. We went to the restaurant, which was called Burns. It's a steakhouse in Tampa of some reputation. We wandered in. Instantly, there was trouble with our table, which there had never been for me before in my life. They pushed all the two of us off into the bar. I'm getting frequently more frustrated by how she's unhappy with every single stage of the situation, which has colored the way that I remember it as well. We get into the bar, and they do tours of the kitchen. And I figured, well, we're waiting for our table. Let's see if we can get a tour. She orders a drink, and she says, I wonder if a place like this would even have Pinot Grigio, which is the last straw for me because it's just that sort of fake pomposity rooted in idiocy that makes me crazy. So we decide we're going to take the tour. So they take us through the kitchen and they show us the fish, that when you order the fish is still swimming. They've got 3 tanks. They've got their own farm where they grow the vegetables. They've got their own machinery because the guy that owned the place didn't like the ovens that were commercially available. Everything is custom, custom, custom. We go down to the basement and the sommelier starts telling us a story about, how they have a bottle of 1828 Chateau Lafite that's on reserve for Y2K. It's $28,000. Sorry, guys, you can't have it. We have 180,000 bottles of wine here. We have 4 other locations that we're storing anywhere from 100 to 250,000 bottles of wine. Does anyone have any questions? So I decided to sort of put a bullet in the head of the evening, and I stuck up my hand and I said, I wonder if a place like this even has Pinot Grigio. To which the sommelier replies, oh, sir. Everyone has a good laugh, and she's ready to go home. So that's Halloween horror story number. Yeah.
You dissed her wine choice.
Well, I just felt like everything was a fib. Who on earth would fly across the country from Seattle and not mention, I'll tell you where to pick me up, and have it be the airport?
And then what was up with the crying in the bathroom part?
I have no clue. Apparently, standardized tests are a big thing for some people.
Was she taking one in the bathroom?
I have no clue. She was certainly testing me the whole time she was there.
So how did you get out of this situation? You drive her back, and then she's got to go back to Seattle, right?
Oh, well, you'd think. I think she was planning on just spending the evening and or weekend, which was what I was kind of getting out of her when she was back. But she was so upset, I took her to a hotel and put her up and picked her up the next day and took her back to the airport.
Oh, you're a nice guy. You did the right thing.
Well, we all do silly things, and just because you're not a match doesn't mean you have to be a hateful jerk.
Did you ever hear from her again?
I never heard another peep, and I'm perfectly happy with that.
Wow, that story. Can you believe that people would do that? That people would surprise fly across country and just do that?
Yeah.
Like just
I was not
surprise
expecting that
somebody.
at all. I was like, at the airport?
Crazy.
Like, are we in Uber? Did we just become
No, because this is pre-Y2K. Leah, that was a time when it was turning to 2000 and everybody thought the world was going to end.
Oh, is that what that means?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow. Oh, come on, Leah.
But I'm a little bit mad that he was like dissing her Pinot Grigio, but I guess he was like over.
I mean, she was being obnoxious about it.
It sounds like she was being obnoxious about a lot.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like if you traveled all the way across country and you're beholden to this guy to get you around and you don't know, where did he say, Tampa?
Yeah, Tampa. Yeah.
I
That's
think
a
you
really
got to
long
be on your
flight.
best behavior. That's what
Yeah,
I'd say.
at the very least.
Be on your best behavior on a date in general, but right?
Yeah.
This is pre-Uber, so you're going to have to call a taxi or something. And this is maybe even pre-cell phones. So she
Yeah.
would really have trouble. She could have really had trouble. I'm sorry that happened to him, though. Okay, we have another story. And this is from someone special that I spoke with about her dating horror story. So we'll go ahead and roll into the next one.
Okay, I have someone really special on the line, Karrine Steffans. I know, honey, you have so many dating stories to share, but there was one particular horror story that I heard was just so juicy. We had to share it on Halloween.
Yes. So first of all, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to share this story with you because I haven't told many people this story. It's the worst date ever. So many years ago, a friend of mine in Atlanta calls me and says, hey, listen, I have the perfect guy for you. He's perfect. Really? Well, let me hear more. Well, he's this, he's that, he's an actor, he's good looking, and he is the brother of a very famous singer/actress. So you know he comes from good stock. So I was like, oh, okay, well, let me Google him. And I was like, I've seen him in things. So I felt like, you know what, how bad could this be, So we talk on the phone. He's nice enough on the phone. And he says, listen, I have tickets to the Bowl, the Hollywood Bowl tonight. I can come get you. We'll go. There's a concert. It was, fireworks and Tchaikovsky. I'm like, that sounds amazing. He's like, I'll pack a picnic basket. I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be so good. Like picnic, Tchaikovsky, fireworks. It's the romantic setting everyone wants for their first date, right? So he said, I'll go down to Larchmont. I'll get a couple of things. I'm like, great. There's a great place there that I love. They have great cheeses and wines and breads and meats. So he calls me. He's like, I'm outside your house. I get downstairs and my date, first of all, I'm dressed. Okay. Casual, but nice. You know, my hair, makeup, a little something like, you know, it's the first day. I get downstairs and my date's on a Vespa. Okay, and by the way, it's warm out. It's not a cool night. It's a warm night. We're on a Vespa. I've got this stupid helmet on. I'm irritated and I'm frightened of anything, motorcycle, bike, anything. I'm scared. Okay?
Yeah,
We're
that's
on
kind
a
of
Vespa.
something that you tell somebody before you pick them up. He brought you a helmet, so he did think ahead a little bit.
Okay, so let's continue. Let's see how far he thought ahead. So the whole time we're on the bike, I'm terrified. I'm clinging on for dear life. He's like talking to me. I'm trying not to die. We're going down Cahuenga. We're headed for the bowl. We're in traffic. It's hot. There's exhaust fumes. I'm disgusted. I'm so over it already. And I keep thinking to myself, where is this picnic basket? So we get to the bowl. We don't park at the bowl, mind you. We park way in another neighborhood, down the street, around the corner, some secret village somewhere where he likes to park when he comes to the bowl. He's a frequent bowl participant, so he has a routine. Free parking under a bridge. I'm terrified, okay? And so we get off the bike. I'm just like, I take the helmet off. I'm sweating. I'm like, so are you going to buy a picnic basket like at the bowl? Because, you know, they have those things for sale. He was like, oh, no. He lifts up the seat of the Vespa in which he has squished in a bag, a paper bag of goodies, squished in the seat of the Vespa. What could it be? It's anybody's guess at this point. I'm like, what did my friend get me into? It gets worse. So now we have to walk to the bowl. We get to the bowl. The seats are terrible. We're so far from anything. I can't see anything. I'm like, fine, whatever, terrible seats. Finally, I get to sit down. He opens up the bag, the mysterious bag. This is what he brought me from Larchmont. He brought me squished peanut butter and jelly sandwiches that he made at home. He brought me random like Mexican chips that he got at an event, he said, in a grab bag, one of those like guest bags, people like a goodie bag. So like those four, some of them were Mexican and they taste really good, but then some of them were just like random chips from around the world. Let's just call them chips from various nations. Like it was just like random things that he got for free. And then some miniature bottles of wine that were hot, of course, because they were in the Vespa. So now they're hot. That he also got for free. Okay. And this was our picnic. And he's talking through the entire thing. So now I'm eating squished PB&J, hot squished PB&J. I'm drinking hot wine. I'm eating like some Mexican chips that are hot. Like they're so like flaming Cheetos, but Mexican. So, you know, that Mexican spice. I have like only like wine to wash it down. I'm terrified. I'm upset. He's talking through the entire performance. So for like 2 hours, this guy's talking, complaining about things, what's wrong with the world. He's such a pessimistic downer. I can't enjoy my Tchaikovsky. The fireworks go off and he wants to leave before anybody else leaves. He's rushing me out of there. He pulls out his phone. He opens up an app, a geo-marking app. He was like, okay, so we have to get out of here before all the muggles leave. Excuse me? He's like, yeah, we got to get out of here before the muggles leave. I need to find a couple of trinkets. What? Well, I use this app. It's a geo something app, and people leave. It's a scavenger hunt, and people leave things in certain places. And before the muggles, he kept saying muggles to me. Before the muggles get out of their seats, I need to look for this trinket or these things that are hidden somewhere in the bowl. What?
Oh.
First of all, sir, what the heck is a muggle? He's like, oh, you know, just like everybody here is a muggle. What?
Harry Potter reference.
First of all, this man is 40-something years old.
I was going to
He's
say, I know
40-something.
because I have an 8-year-old child who reads those books, but not a grown man that's using his app to find. And he didn't even tell you. Like, if you're going to go for a muggle hunt, you want to know that.
So now, before the fireworks are even over, before the grand finale of the concert, which he talked all the way through, he is packing up our warm picnic and he is rushing me down the 17,000 flights of stairs to get into the park, not even the parking lot, in the back where the service entrance and the cleaning people come in and out. We're back there by the trash cans and the dumpsters and stuff, and he's on the ground, looking for things, turning up rocks, digging holes in the dirt. He's legit looking for, I don't know what it is. We're geotracking.
Oh,
and
this is bad.
Yeah, and I've had it. And he didn't find what he was looking for. And he was pissed. He was like, I can't believe it's not here. All the muggles are coming out. They're stepping all over everything. Like, it's a whole thing. It was a complete meltdown because the muggles were coming out now. Okay, so then we have to take the long walk back to the Vespa. I had to get back on the Vespa, and the man asks me if I want to come by his place. Sir, I need you to take me back home as quickly as possible, as far as this Vespa will go. And he did. And he dropped me off. It took a while because Vespas aren't that fast. And I got home. I took off my helmet. He walked me to the door. He tried to kiss me. That was awkward. I got home. I called my friend in Atlanta, and I was like, don't you ever in your
It
life
was just not what
set
she
me
had
up with
expected.
anybody
Poor girl.
ever again.
Yeah,
Oh,
I know.
man.
Like, that went wrong in a couple different places.
Yeah.
He needed to tell her about the Vespa.
Yeah.
At the very least.
That was super tacky that he tried to give her some hand-me-down
Food.
picnic lunch, right?
Ew, that
or
was like
dinner. That's terrible.
Grilled cheeses. Or no, what was it? A
PB&J.
Yeah.
I mean, grilled cheese would have been a step up.
Yeah.
But also, like, the
You can
little
eat wine.
You can't
free
eat cold.
splits of like wine and
Yeah.
champagne. That's also
That was
garbage.
warm.
The Vespa, that's a real problem. And then the geo-tracking. So I cite at least 4 places where this man went terribly wrong on this date.
Mhm.
But we're
And it
so
was
lucky.
too long. She spent the whole night with this man,
I know.
and she didn't even want to be there. Like, she should like, look, man. I gotta
Well, she wanted to be there, just not with him. I think she wanted
Yeah,
to see
she
the
wanted
concert.
to see the concert and the
Fair
fireworks that she didn't get to see.
Oh, what a bummer. Well, I'm so glad that Karrine shared that story with us. And she's going to be on a future episode. We're going to get her here in studio to talk about some new projects that she's working on and something that I got to work on with her. So, woo! That one was a doozy. All right, let's keep going. That's not all the horror stories we
There's
have.
more?
But wait, there's more. We have one from a young lady named Amber who shared her Halloween dating horror story.
So I met a cute guy in the bus, and he seemed normal, so when he asked me out, of course I said yes. We decided to go to the movies, and I picked The Green Inferno because I thought it would be a good date movie. I was not right about that. For those of you who don't know what The Green Inferno is, it's based on Cannibal Holocaust, which is a super gory movie. But I thought maybe we'd cuddle at the scary parts. In the first half of the movie, everything was fine, but then halfway through, I think he must have been triggered or something, because then he starts muttering to himself, and I just ignored it because I was too polite to say anything about it. And we planned on getting drinks afterwards, and I didn't know how to get out of the situations, and I thought maybe a drink would help, but the rest of the date was still pretty weird. And so when he asked me out on a second date, I said no, and then I ran into him a year later at a red light, and he's singing about barbecue, and he looks over and notices that it's me, and he starts trying to cross the light, even though it's still red, and he stops halfway in the street and looks back at me and says, I hope you get pregnant and die in a fire. As a matter of fact, I hope you get herpes so you die slowly. And I was just so baffled.
I'm going to guess that guy's still single.
Probably.
I hope so.
Oh my gosh. That, again, horror on many levels. First of all, I don't know what I would do if somebody started talking to themselves on a date.
In the middle of the theater, like in the middle of a really scary movie, like I'd leave,
Like,
honestly.
why?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
That would be creepy. But then for him to be, she said, singing about barbecue?
Yeah.
And-
Maybe he's just not all there.
Yeah, it sounds like
I
it.
feel
It
like
sounds
that's
like he
safe to
needs
say.
medication of some sort. but makes for a great story. Thanks for sharing it, Amber. Hopefully it's not so horrific out in these streets for you anymore. We have one more to share from our friend Brett of the Open Mic with Brett Allan podcast. Another dating doozy.
So I joined a dating app and I wanted to meet somebody. So I went on to this specific dating app and we started talking and we started trading pictures and texting, and things started to move pretty fast. And so we got to a point where we decided that we wanted to meet up. And she asked me if I had kids, and I said yes, but I didn't feel comfortable getting into specifics about that. So to make a long story short, we decided that we were going to meet. And as the time got closer to meet, things started to change a little bit and get sort of uncomfortable. She went from, I can drive there to meet you there, to I started having car problems, to I'm going to have to walk there. Can you pick me up? And it just got very strange. So essentially the time came for us to meet, and she said, hey, I just want you to know that I'm having problems with my debit card and I won't be able to pay for dinner. I was like, okay, that's kind of a weird thing to say. So I said, no worries, dinner's on me. We're going to go to a local burger spot here in the Bay, no problem. And then she just kept sending me all these things through text that were going wrong. Just, it kept getting weirder and weirder. And she finally asked me, she's like, hey, you know, I need gas money. Do you think I could borrow $50? And I was like, what? That was like the strangest thing that I had ever been asked in my entire life. This was after we had met in person. And so I was like, well, I don't really feel comfortable giving you money because I don't really know who you are. I don't know that much about you. And this is making me very uncomfortable. So we wound up meeting. And then again, at the end of the date, she's like, well, I know $50 is a lot to ask. How about like 20? How much cash do you have on you? And so I was like, you know what? This is making me feel very uncomfortable. I don't want to continue on with this because I'm very nervous. I'm not a typically nervous person, but this is the most insane thing that has ever happened to me. And so the date lasted about 20 minutes, and I said, I just have to go. I don't know. And she just kind of looked at me and she got upset and left. And that was essentially it. And then like 2 days later, she texted me to apologize. And she's like, I know that was weird for me to ask you for money, but I really need it. And then she started going into all these other things. And I asked her to stop contacting me, but she didn't stop. I wound up having to change my phone number because she kept texting me and calling me all the time. Turns out, I found out later through social media, she had been arrested for some other crimes in a different state and had to move to California to get away from these crimes. And these other people she was involved with, I really feel like I was set up and I was going to get, you know, hustled really bad. That was a dumb thing on my part. I guess I'm a trusting person by nature. And for online dating, I am much more precautious at this point. But it's true, it happened. It was crazy, insane, and I will never, ever do anything like that again.
Oh, man. See, those are the stories that I hate to hear about dating apps and online dating of, you know, these professionals. Like, clearly that's not the first time she's done that. No. That try and say everything that you want to hear, and then it's like, oh, can you just give me $50? and then she it was like a negotiation. Yeah. 50? Well, how much do you have? I mean, I'll take 10, whatever.
Yeah,
like,
how much cash you have on you? That was really sad. It was like exactly what we were talking about in last week's episode. It was like a huge red flag. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think Brett learned a few things. I think he learned, first of all, maybe don't give out your real number. Get a Google Voice or something like that, or WhatsApp, or somehow communicate with someone in a way where you don't have to change your whole number. You know, and then also don't offer to, well, don't offer to give money. I think he didn't, but
Yeah.
there are definitely a lot of guys that would give money to that poor woman.
I agree.
And that's why she keeps doing it, because it's working. But there's
But they
always
would've
something
expected
behind it.
something in return. Like, it was like, oh, you want $20? Okay, well.
See, that's how Auntie Tavishya thinks. She's
No,
like, let
do
me
it
tell
speak
you
like
something,
that.
little ones. Let
it
me tell
speak
you
like that.
something.
It's
This
not
is how
just
the
me.
boys think. Okay? Well, I'm so glad that everyone could share their Halloween dating horror stories with us. Whew, Tavishya, that was quite a story, a cautionary tale from you.
I know.
Big thanks to Karrine Steffans, Brett of the Open Mic with Brett Allan podcast, Troy from LA, and the amazing Amber for sharing their dating horror stories. If you're still having some dating horror stories yourself, hop on over to datesandmates.com and I'll set you straight. And by the way, don't forget about Green Chef. It is a great date night solution or an option for busy ladies and gents who don't have a lot of time and energy to cook after a long day of work. So make sure that you use my code greenchef.us/datesandmates to get $50 off of your first box of Green Chef. It is so worth it, people. Thank you so much for listening to episode 235 of Dates and Mates. I want to hear from you. What's your dating challenge? Which segments are your favorites? Who would you love to hear on a future show? You can connect with me on social media at Damona Hoffman. And you might just get a shout out if you tell me what you love about the show. So hello to our listener, Danielle McGee, who said she loves the podcast, and also Chichana for calling Dates and Mates inspiring. We love hearing from you, so please keep the comments coming. And by the way, if you haven't told iTunes how much you love the episodes, please do leave us a review. It really helps us reach more people and heal more hearts. So go on iTunes and tell Dates and Mates 5 stars. We love this show. And we'll be back again next week. It's kind of a dicey episode, producer Leah.
Yeah, I think it's exciting. It's really relevant right now.
It's relevant because we're going to be doing a special election episode on how your relationship can survive political differences with one of my favorite dating coaches, Julie Spira, who has a new book on this topic and had this experience happen to her. So regardless of which way you lean politically, this is one episode that you won't want to miss. And by the way, if it's not too late to register to vote where you live, please go get your name on the rolls. And then next week, we'll be back with you. But until then, I wish you happy dating.